Want to achieve network marketing success? Then you're in the right company. Hello, and welcome to Leave Nothing to Chance, hosted by networking marketing giant, John Solleder. Learn everything you need to know about the network marketing space from somebody who's actually done it. Join us every week for front row seats as we feature some of the finest and most successful personalities in network marketing. Leave nothing to chance. Join us now.
You know, sometimes in life you get an opportunity to introduce people who are really special in your life. And there's a lot of people. You're all special to me in different ways. But when I first started in the industry some 38 years ago, okay, I was a college kid. I attended Seton Hall University in New Jersey. I was in my last semester. A good buddy of mine came in one day and introduced me to the concept of network marketing and to a product that I then bought that night. And that night I went through and I figured out by about 4 a.m. how to become a millionaire in network marketing. I didn't know it wasn't going to be as easy as just drawing the circles on the paper, but I fell in love with the idea of the industry at that point. And May 18th, I graduated from college, May 18th, 1983. And when I graduated college, then President Ronald Reagan was our commencement speaker. And he talked about the fact that in life, find something that you're passionate about, and then find a mentor to teach you. Okay, it's a great message from the president. Took it all in, realized that I was already starting to get a little bit of mentorship with that network marketing business. And then my sponsor said to me, listen, there's a guy that's going to come to Hartford, Connecticut next month that we need to go see. And that was the very, very first time I heard this gentleman's name that I'll share with you momentarily. And we drove up to Hartford, and I'll never forget this as long as I live, because it was myself, 3 other guys, and 1 little girl, 5 of us. That we shared a hotel room. I mean, that's how broke we all were in those days. We took a station wagon with a hole in the floor that we could drop pennies down as we were driving. It was kind of a fun experience. And I had never stayed in a hotel before at that point in my life. Very, very interesting as you go back in these things. But that weekend, that Saturday afternoon, when they brought out this keynote speaker, it was like seeing Elvis Presley for me, because the lights went down, the smoke came up, the artificial smoke that they used to dry ice, and this gentleman came out, and he was just unbelievable. And during the course of this gentleman's speech, he said, for things to change, you have to change, and for things to get better, you have to get better. Once again, for things to change, you have to change. And for things to get better, you have to get better. I had never heard that type of language before. You see, how I grew up was it was the president's fault, or it was the government's fault, or it was your next door neighbor's fault why you weren't achieving. So first time anybody ever said to me that if I was really going to have a successful life, that I had a role in it. And I heard that, and I resonated, and I bonded with this guy, even though I was in the audience, and he was already a legend of what he was doing at that time. But I bonded with him for another way, that he came from the construction world, we came from the construction world, so I knew he knew what real hard work was prior to doing network marketing. And I really, said that day, this is somebody I want to learn from. And over the course of time, we went from being student and teacher to friends, which I value above all else. But let me tell you a little bit more about Larry as I introduce Larry Thompson to you all. Larry is in his 53rd year in the network marketing industry. He started in 1968. Now think about that in your case. How old were you then? Were you even alive then? Some of you weren't even alive yet. 1968. So he's seen some of the people who started the network marketing industry, knew some of them, was mentored, frankly, by some of them, people like Jim Rohn, people like Bobby DePew, and others. And in addition to that, he helped design 2 companies that just this past year, 2 companies that achieved over $600 million in new annual sales, and were recognized by the Direct Selling Association for doing so. And he had something to do with both of those companies in a very significant sales way, in designing them, the compensation plan, the training modules, etc. He's the author of the Millionaire Training book, as well as the Millionaire Training tapes, which go back almost 40 years. That's what I grew up on. That's what a lot of my colleagues grew up on, learning this business from him. He's considered to be the mentor to millionaires. The Wall Street Journal, the most authoritative business newspaper in the world, said that he was the original architect of wealth building. Think about that for a minute. You're going to be hearing from the original architect of wealth building. This man has changed people's lives. And I want to share, not only introducing him to you, but also listen, take notes. And most importantly, that day in Hartford, for things to change, you have to change, became my mantra. And it went into my notebook. And once Larry shared it, it became mine. Let me introduce my good friend of 38 years, my mentor, Mr. Larry Thompson. Larry, welcome to the call.
Wow. Thanks, John, very much. I can't tell you how much I appreciate the introduction. I got to tell you, it sounds like I can walk on water. You know what I mean? From that introduction, I want you to know I can, but I have to know where the rocks are first, you know? And that's what I was taught some 53 years ago, was where the rocks are. And I've tried to pass that on as much as I possibly can here to as many people over the last 53 years. And everybody likes to hear nice things said about themselves. And obviously when John's making these comments here, I feel very, very good about that. But I want to assure you guys of a couple of things. Number one, I'm not any different than you guys are. And John was talking about going to that first meeting and hearing for things to change, you got to change. For things to get better, you got to get better. We had some pretty unique connections there about that first experience, because the first training class I ever attended in my life was with Jim Rohn. And I got that directly from Jim Rohn at that meeting, and it had the same impact on me. John was talking about he stayed in a hotel room for the first time in his life. The first time I'd ever been in a hotel was when I came to my first opportunity meeting 53 years ago. And I got to tell you something. I'm not the person that you would be sitting here to think about these nice accolades that's been shared here that of any substance in their life, because I was just a long-haired hippie construction worker. That I grew up in construction work. John his family comes from that background too. We have a lot of similarities there. But I'd never been in a hotel at all. And that's the only reason I went to that meeting that night. I was, as I stated, was a long-haired hippie construction worker. I never finished high school. And the reason I didn't finish high school is because I was too shy to give that oral book report that was required back then. I don't think they even know how to read today, but back then you had to read the book, write about the book, and then walk across in front of your classmates and share a little bit about the book. Now, you got to understand something. I came from a very small farming community in the San Joaquin Valley where Keith is from there. And it was only about 12,000 people. And there was only first through the sixth grade. Then there was the seventh and eighth grade. Then there was high school. So all of these kids I grew up with. And yet I couldn't bear to walk across. I was too shy to walk across in front of my classmates and give that oral book report, which I had done. I could tell you the color of your shoes, but I couldn't tell you the color of your eyes. And it was, and I still have those characteristics. I haven't outgrown those. In this environment right now, I'm comfortable and I'm confident. But you just get me in a regular environment, and I'm still that shy person. And I shared this with you because most people in our space sell themselves short. They don't think they're young enough. They don't think they're old enough. They don't think they're tall enough. They don't think they're short enough. We always have a tendency to kind of hang on to those crutches, as I call them, that we've taken possession of because someone has shared something about us sometime in our life that we've accepted, that I'm too shy and I don't have the confidence. Okay, or I'm too young, or I'm too old, I'm too short, I'm too tall, that kind of deal. Using those as illustration, I got to tell you something, whatever those are, let's say that they're all true, because it is true that I'm that shy person, okay? Not in this environment, but I am in almost every other. But no matter what, I want you to understand something. You can do this. You can do it, okay? You are good enough as you are. There has been a major push in our space here over the last dozen years of personal growth and personal development. And I'm a firm believer in that. But I'm going to tell you what I'm not a firm believer of, that's the cause. That's the result, okay? You do not grow and become and grow personally because you read books or you take seminars. Listen, I have classes that I sell, and I have an academy and all of that. You may say, well, this is the opposite. Why would you be saying this? Because it's the truth. At the Direct Sales News here in April, they did some of you might have seen it, but they did a virtual broadcast of the top 100 companies. And John was just talking about that. Two of them that I helped put together not only did over $1 billion last year, but each one of them had $600 million increase last year, and they tied for the Bravo Award. Something I'm very, very proud of, because I had parts have a major part to do with both of those. But the reality is that those platforms were built for everyday people. The long-haired hippie, the school teacher, the grocery checker, the mattress salesman, the lady truck driver, the waitress, okay? And if that can happen, okay, if people like us, me, can make this happen, then I assure you that you can too. And back to personal growth and personal development. You know, there's been a big push. You know, that's just how you grow. You got to become more, you got to learn more to do more. You don't have to learn more to do more. You just got to do what your job description is, which is employ yourself to go out and onboard members and customers on a daily basis, not train them. Because if you can do this, they can do that. But as distributors, what I've learned, okay, over going on to 5 decades now, is that distributors will use any reason in the world to keep from doing their job description and which is onboard new members today, onboard new members today, not last week, not last month, but today, okay, and onboard new customers today. That's our job description. And what we'll do is when we're having a tough time doing that, okay, and we're not feeling good about it because we're getting some kind of rejection, that's too strong of a word, some kind of not encouragement and not getting a favorable answer all the time, that doesn't feel good. So what do? We pick up the phone and call out one of our team members. And we call our team members because we'll encourage them and they'll tell us how, thank you, Larry. Thank you so much. It's like petting your dog, okay? Your pets. Thank you, Larry, okay? You help me so much and you care so much for me and I'm going to do everything I can to make you so proud of me. I'm doing that as a crutch, okay? And I'm using that as a crutch because I am not out there onboarding members and customers today myself. And that's our only job. And John asked me to share a subject matter that's called employ yourself. And it's one of my favorite subject matters of all because it's really at the heart of matter of what we do is how to employ ourselves. And that's something that was easy for me as far as taking that responsibility because I did cement work. I worked on my hands and knees and working on my hands and knees, especially with cement. There's certain things you got to do at certain times all the time to have a favorable outcome. And too often in our lifetime, unless you're put in that kind of a pressure situation, kind of like a pilot, there's certain things they got to do to prepare for that plane to take off. And there's certain things they got to do to keep that plane in the air. And there's certain things they got to do to land that plane at a prescribed time to have a favorable outcome. Okay, but there's very few things that we do in our life that put us in those kind of pressure is the wrong word, but those kind of precise moments where we have to take that individual self-responsibility to do an action that we know we should be doing, but there's no room for us to give ourselves an excuse to not do it, okay? And that's important. And in the book here that the Millionaire Training book that we finally came out with after 41 years, there's a chapter and it's an audio book too. You got an audio portion. It's only about 9 minutes long. It's not that hard because it's not that difficult, okay, to learn. But all of us have seen people in business, okay, that were great as an employee in that business, great. And then all of a sudden they get into their own business and that same business and they don't succeed well. Why is that? Why does that take place? You know, for example, you could take in consideration there, like for myself, I just call it construction work. Okay, I'll use landscaping. That's a better illustration, perhaps. You see a person that has that's a lead foreman, okay, the superintendent, whoever it may be, for this landscaping company. And they do so well job. They do a great job. They keep customer service going. They keep all the employees happy. They keep everything on schedule. They make everything happen. And you say, boy, I wonder when he's doing such a great job as a foreman or a superintendent. I wonder when he's going to start his own landscaping business. Okay. And finally, Larry does it. Okay. He does it, gets in his own landscaping, and he only lasts about 6 months. Why is that? Why does that take place? Because he didn't know how to employ himself. He knew how to be employed, but he didn't know how to employ himself. So I had to learn how to, and I've taught over the years, how to be the boss and the bossy. So we got the landscaping illustration. Let's take the hairstylist illustration. Okay. Someone does a hairstylist and the lead hairstylist in a salon. And she can be absolutely great. She keeps it moving. All the customers happy. When is Sally going to go into and get her own salon? Finally, she does. And she doesn't last very long at all. Why does that happen? Again, why does that take place? Because when we get into our business space here as an independent business contractor, as a distributor, we have the responsibility of being the boss and the bossy. We're both the boss and the bossy. Most of us are very good. Almost every successful business that's out there, entrepreneur that's out there, was a great employee before they ever became a great entrepreneur. They were a great employee. They always did the best job that they could. They always took self-responsibility. They were always self-determined. They had to motivate themselves. They had to be disciplined themselves. Not almost every successful entrepreneur has those characteristics as the bossy. Now, when they become the boss, what happens now? Okay. And that's the difficult part. And so I will tell you something. John was just talking about Jim Rohn. Jim Rohn and I joined the same company the same night back in 1968. We were both distributors. For those of you that don't know Jim Rohn, I highly recommend it. I tell you that right now. But and if you do know Jim Rohn, you know him as a business philosopher, a business strategist. You know him like that. I know Jim like that. But I got to tell you something. I know him as a distributor. We used to do meetings together. We set up meetings together. Okay. We worked, help each other with each other's guests. And there's nobody on the planet that spent more personal time or stage time with Jim Rohn than me. He talks about being the little farm boy back in Idaho. I've been to this place up there with his dad. I've been there. And I worked with Jim Rohn throughout the 60s and the 70s, but I also brought him into Herbalife in 1985 because I needed some extra help at that point. And boy, what a difference that he made for everything that takes place. I'm bringing that up because Jim Rohn was a salesman at Sears. Sears doesn't exist anymore, making $57 a week. And so what Jim did, he was a good boss, but wasn't a good boss. He had to learn it. Same thing with the long-haired hippie construction worker. And I want to give you this story. I love telling stories because it helps me. I was taught that from Bobby and Jim, that people relate to stories more than they do to facts and figures. I want you to think about this long-haired hippie, okay, making what? I was making $6.50 an hour at that particular point. That's what it was. That was a lot of money back then. It was a lot of money. I never thought about doing anything except construction work because I loved it. My family did it. I enjoyed it. And I just lived construction work, and that's all I wanted to do. And never occurred to me to do something different until I got that message, like John was referring to. Maybe, just maybe, this could turn out for someone like myself. I never will forget one of the biggest statements that Bobby made at the meeting. He gave the meeting that I attended. And he said, listen, he says, it's obvious that we're making a lot of money here. And, you can tell when people are making a lot of money in a group, in an environment. He said, it's obvious. He said, I'd like to be able to promise you that you can make the money that we're making. And he says, but I can't. He said, I just can't. He said, but I can promise you this. What if, boy, what powerful words. What if this turns out just 10% for you, what it's turned out for us? I want you to think about that. What if that happens? And that was like a slap across the face for me. What if, 10%? And guess what the long-haired hippie construction worker did? With no education, no self-confidence, no self-esteem, I defaulted and gave away 90% of the success. I couldn't accept that. But I said maybe 10%. That was enough to get me to start thinking maybe, just maybe. And I want you to think about what we do out there today in our space, 10,000 a month in the next 90 days and Lamborghini bikinis. We're having all that kind of talk and diamond rings, all the bling. And I'm going to tell you the majority of your audience is wearing, will continue to wear the shoes that the long-haired hippie wore. 10% is the most that they can think about at that point for the majority of the people you ever talk to. So I gave it away. And he said, I gave the 90% away. He said, what if it turns out 10%? And he said, if that's true, then why not now? What if 10% of the things that you hear about over today and tomorrow, 10%, okay, turns out for you the way it has the others? Then why not you, and why not now? Why not? And so once you get going in this, because you are an independent business contractor, you do have to be the boss and the bossy. So I remember being in Chicago at the Marriott Hotel O'Hare, Marriott at the O'Hare Airport in Chicago. And I'd been invited in, and meeting was over, and I went down to the coffee shop, and I was so shy. I just couldn't even hang around most of these people. And there was a group of people sitting over there around, kind of circled around a big booth. And Bobby was talking, and there was about 7 or 8 people listening to him. And I came up and kind of sat to the booth right behind where Bobby was so I could hear. Okay, but I didn't want to participate. I was just too shy. And he said those words. He said, you got to kind of employ yourself like being the boss and a bossy. He didn't say any more at all. But for me, I had to put some meat on those bones. And I had to, what does that mean, the boss and the bossy? So it's like I had to develop Larry 1 and Larry 2. Larry 1 was the boss, and Larry 2 was the bossy. So Larry 1 and Larry 2 had to get together and talk about their job description and their terms and conditions for receiving the pay. And they had to have some kind of agreement. So Larry 1 ran an ad in the newspaper, and Larry 2 answered. And Larry 2 never thought much about it, but he liked Larry 1, and Larry 1 liked Larry 2. And finally, Larry 1 says, listen, Larry 2, I'd kind of like to work with you. I think you got the desire. I think you got the willingness to work, and, you seem fairly teachable. I think that maybe you can make this work. Maybe not the way I want, but how about 10%? Okay, that was what was going on in my brain. And Larry 2 says, well, what do I got to do? And what do I get paid? Larry 1 says, listen, I'm willing to pay you $100,000 a year. And Larry 2 says, what? $100,000? What are you talking about? That's more money than I can ever think about. I'm willing to do it. Larry 2 says, okay, what do I have to do? He said, you got to onboard members and onboard customers on a daily basis. Now, I understand, Larry 2, that it doesn't always happen every day. But what I need you to do is take the responsibility for me to pay you this $100,000 to go through the effort to be able to possibly, perhaps onboard members and customers every day on a consistent basis. And Larry 2 said, well, I don't understand. He said, well, it's like going to the gym. He said, if you want to lose 30 pounds, you're not going to lose 30 pounds overnight. Okay. But I need you to go to the gym, and I need you to get in shape, and I need you to decide how many days a week you're going to go to the gym, and how long you're going to be there, and how much weight you're going to try and lose. So they talked that plan through. So what is it? Larry 1 is telling Larry 2, I want you to onboard new members and new customers every day. And by the way, we got to decide what those days are. Okay. I would like to get at least 5 days a week out of you. Okay. That was easy for me because I work construction 5 days a week. So that was something I could identify with. Okay. 5 days a week, you want me to onboard members and customers. And what if I don't get a new customer or a member today? Say, Larry 2, all I care about is you go through the process of talking to people about buying your products today, about joining your company today. The process. I don't want you to think about it. I don't want you to send out a post and with pictures of your food to get someone to know, like, and trust you. I need you to talk to somebody today. Okay. And the results I'm not interested in, because that's a result of Sinaloa, which is another subject matter, safety and number and law of average. But I just need you to talk to people. And Larry 2 says, okay, how many people do you want me to talk to? For $100,000 a year, I'll talk to 50 a day. And Larry 1 says, no, I don't want you to do that. I want you to be consistent. I would feel very comfortable, instead of 100 people a day, 10%, if you talk to 10 people a day, 5 days a week. Okay, 5 days, 10 people a day. About, would you like to buy my products today? Okay, after you explained it to them. Or would you like to join my business today after you explained it to it? Not getting them to set up an appointment, but talk to them about buying my products. Would you like to buy them today? Yes or no? And the reaction, Larry 1 says, I don't care what the answer is. Don't care. I do know we'll have a law of average and work out in my favor. Same thing for the opportunity. Same thing for the products. I want you to do that. Larry 2 said, man, 100,000 a year, and you want me to talk to 10 people a day? Man, I'm going to do this deal. Okay. Larry 1 says, what 5 days a week do you want to work? Okay. Bossy says, I'm going to do Monday through Friday because that's what I'm used to at construction work. I said, okay. Boss says, when do you want to put in your 8 hours? Bossy, Larry 2. Well, I'm used to starting at 8 o'clock and working to 4. I'll do that. Okay. No problem. I don't care what it is. You just tell me what it is. You're going to talk 5 days a week. Okay. You're going to talk 10 people a day. That's your job description. And you're going to choose between 8 and 4. Perfect. No problem whatsoever. Okay. And that's it. 5 days a week. And Larry 2 says, the bossy says, wait a minute. You mean to tell me if I do that, you're going to pay me the equivalent of $8,000 a month for doing that? I'm your guy. Okay. Larry 1 says, when do we want to start? Larry 2 says, well, it's Thursday. Let's start on Monday. And said, okay. Monday, Larry is so excited about his first day on the job, he can't even stand himself. And he's getting ready. He's all excited, doing everything. He's getting ready to go out and talk to people. The only way he knows how to talk to people is to bump into people on the streets and talk. He doesn't know anything about social media, doesn't know anything about anything. That's his responsibility to figure out those 10 people. And Larry 2 is going to be going out at 8 o'clock in the morning, and he looks at his watch, and you know what? It's 8:03. He said, oh, my goodness, I'm 3 minutes late. He said, no problem. I'll make up for it at the end of the day here. And as he starts to leave, okay, and he gets in his car and backs his car out the driveway, and he looks in the rearview mirror, and guess who's in the back seat? Larry 1. And Larry 1 has said, Larry 2, I'm a little mixed up here. I thought we had agreement that you were going to start at 8. He said, yeah, but it's 8:03 now, 8:04 now, and I'm going to make up for it later on. And Larry 1 says, Larry 2, listen, when you did construction work, if you started at 8, you knew what that meant. You actually started at 7:59 in the morning. You knew that. You started ahead of time as going out here and making $650 an hour, but I'm paying you $8,000 a month, and you're going to start out for me 3 minutes late? We're going to have a discussion about this, Larry 2. Okay, if you want this, we'll cut back the pay. We'll cut back the responsibility. But guys, you got to learn how to be the boss and the bossy. And what we have done is become very casual. And casualness breeds casualties. If you can make this 10% factor that's out there, then why would you dare be late when you'd never be late as the bossy, but you're the boss and you're late? Doesn't make any sense. Everything goes along well there. It's about Thursday. And on Thursday, okay, Larry 2 is heading back home, man. He's had a good day. He's supposed to be talking to 10 people a day, and he's had a good day, man, but he's only talked to 7. That's it, okay? But he's feeling good because these 7 are better than any 10 he's ever talked to. Man, this is going to be great. I know how you guys sell yourself, okay? I know how you do that, okay? And Larry 2's driving home, okay? And as he pulls into the driveway, who's leaning against the garage door? Larry 1. And Larry 1 is saying, hey, how you doing, Larry 2? Said, good. Said, man, I had some good people today. And Larry 1 said, oh, I know. I've been out there. I've watched you. And said, but I'm a little bit confused here, okay? I don't know if it was 7 or 8, but I only counted, I think it was 7 is what I got on my list that you talked to. And I thought you were supposed to talk to 10 a day. Yeah, but the 7 I talked to so good you're not even going to believe it. He said, Larry 2. I pay you for talking to 10. I don't pay you for talking 7. If you're going to talk to 7, we're going to have to adjust your pay here, Larry 2. We're going to have to adjust it. What do you want to do? Do you want to honor up to who you committed yourself to be? Or you want to honor up to being this independent business contractor and make this kind of money? Do you want to honor up to that, or do you need me to cut that back? What's the deal here, Larry 2? And Larry 2 says, you're right. That will never happen again. That goes along now for about a month, and everything's cool. And then Larry 2 is about ready to leave for work, and he's going to be there at 7:59 in the morning, just like he used to do in construction work. And he gets a phone call about 7:30 in the morning. And it's a good friend of his that he hasn't seen in 5 years that has come into town, is hanging around and wants to spend some time with them. And this guy is good. If Larry too can get this guy, oh my goodness, this is it. He's off to the races. And so what happens was, my wife and I, let's go meet you and your wife, and let's go have breakfast. And they have breakfast, and then it turns into lunch, and it turns into everything's going good that day. And at the end of the day, Larry Two's friend says, man, I think what you've told me about this business, I want to join. This is just absolutely fantastic. And Larry Two hasn't talked to anybody except his friend that day. He's feeling so good because this guy is something. 10 o'clock at night, and Larry Two is just gotten out of the shower, okay, and getting ready to brush his teeth, and everything is fine there. And he wipes down the mirror because it's all foggy because he's got to shave and stuff. And guess who he sees in the shower? Larry One. And Larry One says, hey, listen, okay, I could be mistaken, but because I've been really busy, but I haven't seen you out there all day long. And Larry Two, the bossy, said, oh, I know you haven't, but let me tell you about Bob here and what happened with Bob and what's going to go on. He's going to be so great for us. And Larry One interrupts and says, stop right there. I don't pay you for judging them. I don't pay you for signing them up. I don't pay you for anything. What I pay you for is talking to them and telling them to say yes or no, I want to buy. Yes or no, I want to join. Do not care about the outcome. I care about the activity level. So Larry Two, if I'm going to continue to pay you this money, I got to know that you're going to step up to your end of the deal, because if you don't stand up to your end of the deal, then we're going to make some adjustments in this pay plan, or we're going to have to talk about if we're going to continue this working relationship or not. Now, that's a little mundane story, but I got to tell you something. That story served me now for over 50 years of being the boss and the bossy. I still have to do that to myself today. I still have to do it. There is no sense, there's nobody on this phone, nobody in our space that arrives and are perfect, that can walk across hot coals. They can do a half an hour a day of this. They can do meditation there, read their goals 20. Nobody arrives. You're always growing. You're always going through it. You are an independent business contractor, which means you're in business for yourself, which means you got to be the boss and the bossy. You know how many people you talked to yesterday. You know how many talked last week, and you know how many last month. And you're on this broadcast right now because you want to get motivated to do more of what you didn't do last week. Okay, I know distributors. I've been doing this for over 50 years. I am telling you that being the boss and the bossy, the employer and the employee, okay, you're capable of meeting this because you do this in other areas of your life. If you're a stay-at-home mom, for example, you are the boss and the bossy, and I guarantee you, if you got 2 or 3 kids running around, you're going to take care of both of those responsibilities. You already know how to do it, okay? Everything that's necessary to learn in this business of being able to do the self-leadership that's required, you already have the skills. You already have in your briefcase of skills self-responsibility as a homemaker, as a breadwinner, as a hairdresser, as a waitress, as a grandmother. You already have self-responsibility. You already have it in that area. At some areas, you develop multiple. You already have self-discipline. You already have self-determination. You already have self-motivation so that you're self-functioning in that role. You already have it. The question is, are you going to shrink back and use it as a crutch and say, well, I'm not tall enough. I'm not short enough. If I only knew more people, if I was only a better talker, okay? Don't use it as a crutch. You already have it. You have it at your fingertips. You just got to give yourself the authority to move it from this area of being the stay-at-home mom, the single mom, the school teacher, the truck driver, the bus driver, and move it over here in this network marketing arena and employ yourself. You got to learn how to be the boss and the bossy. Now, I'm just giving you a brief overview here of some of the things that have worked for me. And John, I hope this is some of the stuff that you wanted me to cover with your team here. And I haven't been looking at the clock. I don't know if we talked too much or not enough. I got no ideas. If you want to take some questions and answers or kick me out, whatever you want to do.
Yeah, we can't open up the questions. There's too many people, but just a couple of things, Larry. Employ yourself has been taught now by you for all these years. You've helped to produce some of the legendary, iconic distributorships in the industry. So many companies have been influenced by you. So many, corporations, some rightfully so, that have listened. Some that didn't, right? Human nature, as we know. But in closing, 53 years network marketing. You and I have known each other 38 of those years. I was a kid, you weren't that much older, and now we're getting down the road a piece. But what keeps you so passionate at this stage of life about network marketing? What is it? What does it get you up in the morning and get you moving? Because I got to tell everybody this, folks, okay? Because we're going to use this for a podcast also. Larry runs circles around guys half his age, okay? And his passion for the business is as strong now as when I met him 38 years ago. It hasn't wavered. So what is it that keeps you doing what you do?
It's, for me, John, it's simple, okay? I know for a fact if the long-haired hippie construction worker like myself can make an impact on their own life and help impact other people, I know if I can do it, anybody can do it. I got that influence from Jim Rohn. Okay. Jim Rohn was a salesman at selling suits at Sears for $57 a week. Jim Rohn knew for a fact if he could do this as a farm boy from Idaho, that other people could. Bobby Depew, the school teacher coming from Lindsay, California to San Joaquin Valley, right where Keith lives, only 5,000 people at that point. A school teacher knew that if he could do it, anybody could do it if they'd just give themselves an authority to get that job done. And John, you've done the best job of an example of leadership. And you're certainly in the top 10, if not the top 5 that I've ever worked with as far as being disciplined and caring about your team and leading the way as the boss and the bossy on a consistent basis. And the key to any success like this, as far as I'm concerned, is absolutely understand there's no difference between me and anybody that joins up, okay? I don't care how fast my car is. I don't care how big my house is. And I don't care what vacation I've gone on. And I don't care what diamonds I'm wearing on my fingers. The reality is, if I can do this, anybody can do this. If they'll apply those few basic fundamental steps, employing yourself being one of them. And listen, 10% is all it's got to turn out for anybody, and you're going to be fine.
So you would say this MLM life, just to kind of close, this MLM lifestyle that you've had now since, the late 1960s, it's worth it for all these people who are listening. We've got a lot of young people listening. We've got a lot of people who, because of the circumstance, the last 16, 17 months with the pandemic, that have been displaced from jobs, perhaps careers. Some have great education, some have no education, but some are very young, frankly. We've got some young people. My own son's on the call, who one of his hockey buddies from Florida is on the call. There's some young guys on the call. There's some 20-year-olds on the call, and there's probably some 70 and 80-year-olds on the call saying, hey, is this for me? Is it for them? And why?
I don't know. I have no clue what at multi-level is for any individual. Don't know what they're going to do with it. What I do know is it takes just a few handfuls of things, and everybody has it within them. And sometimes it's just the roll of the dice as far as circumstances of life. That what prevents someone being that 10% group that I come from, okay, being only 10% success, okay, is current life circumstances. Every single day when we wake up, we have a different set of today's life circumstances, of attitude, of passion, of belief, of health, of spousal support, of kids having problems, all the stuff. Every day we have life circumstances. Well, let me tell you something. As a construction worker, as a cement finisher, I had life circumstances, and I made $6.50 an hour. Okay. The difference is I have life circumstances. And when I was doing cement work, I was out there 8 hours a day. I had to perform. It wasn't like being a plumber. If I didn't fix this pipe today, I could fix it tomorrow. Okay. It's like the airplane pilot. They got to do certain things today. And I know for a fact, if you'll take on that ownership of that responsibility, then this could be a great thing for you. Will it work out? You've got no idea. The variable is not your company. The variable is not your product line. The variable is not your compensation model. The variable is your attitude, your desire, your willingness, and that teachability to learn a half a dozen things, not a half a dozen things this week and another half a dozen things next week. It's no different than baseball. Baseball has fundamentals: run, hit, catch, throw. Run, hit, catch, throw. This profession, this job that we have, it has fundamentals, okay? And if you apply those half a dozen fundamentals, I don't care about technology. I love technology. I love social media. I love all of that. But I got to tell you something. It can be a crutch like you can't even imagine. So here's what I know. You do the fundamentals, and with that was spoke about earlier here about residual income, it makes sense to make the sell this month and get paid for it for the next 20 months or the next 25 years. It makes sense to do that. Okay. The variable is not network marketing. Is the only thing that provides us with is residual income. You still have to employ yourself. You still have to run, hit, catch, throw for that residual income to be an issue. And so I don't know if I've answered your question or not.
Well, you sure did. And thank you so much, Larry. And appreciate it as always, man.
Okay. Well, listen, guys, thank you so much. And John, anytime I can help you guys, don't sell yourself short. You're good enough as you are. So, John, appreciate it.
Thank you, Larry. Appreciate it. Thanks so much.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode of Leave Nothing to Chance. If you want to know more about what it takes to succeed in the network marketing space, join us again next week for another amazing episode. For additional resources and to connect with John Solleder, visit leavingnothingtochance.com. Don't forget to leave a review, and we'll see you next time.